This is Optimal Living Daily Relationships, Episode 6, How a White Bear Can Teach You to Forget Your Ex, by Dr. Marisa Cohen with scienceofrelationships.com. And I'm your host and narrator, Joss Marie. Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to another episode of Optimal Living Daily, the Relationships Edition. Thanks so much for checking out the podcast. We had a great launch last week, hitting the top 5 in the education category of iTunes, and we couldn't have done it without you, so thanks again. And thank you for listening and subscribing to the show. Today I have a post from a brand new website that we've actually never read from on any of our podcasts. It's called Science of Relationships. Their mission is to share relationship science with the world. There's a ton of writers on the site who are all super educated. Most have their PhDs. And the content is perfect for this show. And they actually have a really interesting app called StayGo. It's the only app that uses science and social networking to predict the success of your relationship, whether it's your 5th date or your 5th anniversary. You can find it at staygoapp.com. That's staygoapp.com. For now, let's jump right in and start optimizing your life. How a White Bear Can Teach You to Forget Your Ex, by Dr. Marisa Cohen with scienceofrelationships.com. Don't think of the white bear. If you're like most people, you are now probably sitting in front of your computer screen or phone doing exactly what you were just instructed not to do, thinking of a white bear. In fact, you are probably fixating on the white bear. Certainly, if you weren't thinking of the white bear before, you are now. This laser-like focus on the exact idea I instructed you to block out results from what researchers refer to as the ironic process theory, or more simply, the white bear effect. In a seminal research study, participants were asked to verbalize their stream of consciousness and not think about a white bear. Despite these explicit instructions, not only did participants have difficulty suppressing thoughts of the forbidden white bear, but the white bear surfaced with an unusually high frequency. This idea relates to relationships as well. After breaking up with a significant other, you may have a conscious effort to avoid thinking about him or her. However, in doing that, you wind up focusing on your ex, which is exactly what you intended not to do in the first place. A breakup can be an incredibly painful experience, even if you are emotionally detached from your partner by the time you break up. You loved him or her at one point, and ending the relationship will typically cause you to experience a sense of loss. Importantly, there are many variables that can affect the amount of emotional distress you experience due to this loss, such as the quality and length of the newly ended relationship, as well as how you perceived that relationship. For example, if you two were friends before becoming romantically involved, the loss of the relationship will be much more difficult to deal with. So how can we forget about our ex, and why do we care about white bears? Basically, do not force yourself to avoid thinking about your ex, lest you fall prey to the classic white bear effect. While it is easy to get rid of tangible items such as a gift or his or her sweatshirt, thoughts are more challenging to remove. If you make the conscious decision to not think about your ex, your former significant other is likely to invade your thoughts. It is best to keep busy and naturally distract yourself with other, more pleasant thoughts. More concretely, Wegner suggests several therapeutic ideas for setting the bears free, which are listed below, many of which may come in handy as you work on recovering from that prior relationship you just can't seem to forget about, no matter how hard you try. Some of the recommendations are contradictory to one another because the techniques that work best vary from person to person. Number 1, focus distraction. Think of something else, such as a hobby or activity that you enjoy doing when your ex comes to mind. This will help by shifting focus to areas that may enable you to cope with the breakup. Number 2, stress and load avoidance. Stress hinders your ability to suppress the unwanted thoughts. Try to avoid stressful situations if at all possible, especially situations in which your ex is likely to be present. Number 3, thought postponement. It is easier to put off thinking about something on a temporary basis. Being overly ambitious and permanently suppressing a thought is likely to lead to failure. So, focus on avoiding your ex's social media accounts for a few days at a time, rather than permanently. This is much more manageable. Number 4, acceptance and commitment. This approach offers strategies for reducing the emotional impact of the thought by changing perspectives or adopting special approaches to the thought in the attempt to neutralize its effective charge. Here, you don't force yourself to not think about your ex, but rather train yourself to handle these thoughts in a more effective way. In closing, Wegner notes, quote, "Many of these strategies entail thinking about and accepting unwanted thoughts rather than suppressing them, and so setting free the bears," unquote. So go ahead, think about your ex, and in doing so, set him or her free. You just listened to the post titled, "How a White Bear Can Teach You to Forget Your Ex" by Dr. Marisa Cohen with scienceofrelationships.com. Marisa Cohen founded the Self-Awareness and Bonding Lab in 2014 and researches the development of relationships throughout the lifespan. And again, there are a ton of talented writers on the site, so we'll be hearing from many more. You can also check out their app. You can find it at staygoapp.com, and it's all about predicting the success of your relationship. Pretty cool. Before we go, it'd be great if you could share this show with a friend or family member, maybe someone who needs to forget their ex. The easiest way is to show them how to subscribe to the podcast on their smartphone. Many people still don't know how to listen to podcasts, so showing them how would be a great way to spread the love. And that's it for the Monday episode. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you next time where your optimal life awaits.
Hello, Life Optimizer. This is Justin Malik, creator and producer of this podcast, but also Optimal Living Daily, the show where I read to you from even more blogs covering finance, productivity, minimalism, personal development, and more from incredible bloggers like Derek Sivers, Zen Habits, Mark and Angel, The Minimalists, and all the ones you hear on this show too. So if you enjoyed today's episode and like taking amazing blogs on the go, come on over to Optimal Living Daily and subscribe to that one too. And together, we'll start optimizing your life.
You've been listening to Optimal Living Daily. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on each new episode and head to oldpodcast.com. That's OLDpodcast.com for a free gift as well as more actionable tips and resources to help you maximize your potential. Thanks for joining us, and remember, your optimal life awaits.